This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Good Tuesday morning. Time now is 4:27. Thanks for joining us. I'm Meredith Barrick.
And I'm Nicole Griffin. We are continuing our coverage this morning, finding out new details about a one-year-old found inside an SUV over the weekend. It happened at an AutoZone store on East Washington Street.
Yeah, this all unfolded on Saturday when authorities were called to that scene. We do now know the identity of that one-year-old baby girl. Her name is Maria Sanchez. She was found unresponsive inside that SUV you see there. Now, an autopsy was performed. There is no conclusive evidence as to how she died, and it could take up to 8 weeks to figure out what exactly happened there. We will continue to follow this story as it is such a tragic situation. Taking a turn now, meteorologist Todd Clausen here with a check at our weather. Yesterday, things were kind of cool. This morning, I was
cool again.
A little shocked when I walked out the door.
Yeah, you know, we said it was going to be in the 40s, and that's where we are here this morning. But today is the last of the really cool days.
Okay.
And if you're not a fan of the heat and humidity, all I can say is enjoy today, because the heat and humidity really build in the coming days. But there are those temperatures Meredith was talking about, 48 right now in Indy, 46 in Kokomo, as well as Lafayette. And you do notice a few sprinkles across northern portions of central Indiana. Don't be shocked today if you see a sprinkle or two pass by. It's not going to be anything really more than that. Otherwise, partly sunny skies for us today, with temperatures that once again will only be in the mid 60s. But tomorrow we make the jump into the low 80s, and by the end of the week we're talking about high temperatures near 90 degrees. So that's why I say it's a little bit below normal, a little cool today, but enjoy it, because the very summer-like pattern is getting ready to set up just in time for Memorial Day weekend.
All right, and that also means race weekend,
right.
Todd. No one in Indy calls it Memorial Day weekend. What are you talking about? Our Erin Lish is going to be out at the track this morning talking about how to protect your ears and your hearing.
Yeah, she's going to be talking to president of the track, Doug Bowles, about a situation that he went through where he had a scare dealing with his own hearing. She's going to have all the tips and advice you need to know as you're heading out for the Indy 500, and of course, you know, all the fun out there this weekend.
Yes, and speaking of all that fun, sometimes people can get hurt, sometimes people can get sick. So our Alyssa Donovan is going to introduce us to a group of IU Health residents who are going to be out at the track getting some firsthand real-life experience with not only drivers who might be injured or sick, but fans who also are in need of health care. So she's going to be talking to them, and we're going to be learning more about what they are up to out at the track this weekend. Plus, we've got more news, weather, and traffic to start your Tuesday.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
A Beech Grove Railroad crossing is giving drivers a lot of problems. Working for you, we're taking their concerns to CSX officials to find out what's being done to fix it.
Plus, the latest on a deadly home explosion in southern Indiana. One person killed, an entire neighborhood damaged. This morning, we're hearing from the neighbors of those victims.
And job candidates who fail drug tests could get a second chance. We're breaking down the new state guidelines that could help you out in the future. Thanks for joining us here on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Nicole Griffin.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. Meteorologist Todd Clausen here. Elena Martella, too, keeping an eye on traffic. But, Todd, we want to get to you first because it is the last chilly, cool. I mean, it's not that cold out there.
That cold, you know.
But it feels a fall-like. Yeah.
You know, and we're going to start to build in the heat and humidity. So by the end of the week, you're going to be wishing for temperatures like this.
I know.
This morning, as we sit at 48 degrees right now, officially at the airport in Indianapolis. And this temperature will go down another couple degrees this morning before we start to climb once the sun comes up. And all across central Indiana, temperatures are in the 40s for the most part, holding on to one last 50-degree rating down there in Bedford. 45, though, in Rushville, as well as Peru. 46 in Lafayette. 47 is the current temperature in Greencastle. So there were a few sprinkles this morning that went through northern Indiana, and you can see the bulk of that rainfall is now pushing up towards Fort Wayne. And then as we expand out, you see a lot of rainfall off to our west. and it looks like it's making its way right here towards central Indiana. That should really start to fall apart as we go throughout the course of the morning hours. There will be the opportunity, I think, for a couple showers to maintain themselves, but we're not going to see that steady rainfall, which is certainly good news. So throughout the day today, probably more clouds than sunshine. We'll call it partly sunny. Again, there is that spot shower chance early on in the day. Otherwise, 57 degrees by the noon hour, up to 67 degrees for your high temperature later on this afternoon. We'll talk about the heat and humidity coming up in just a little bit, but right now, going to get a first look at traffic this morning with Elena. Good morning.
Good morning, Todd. So what we have right now up in Boone County, State Road 32 is closed between Mule Barn Road and Little Eagle Creek Avenue, and that's because of a rollover crash. So to get around it, westbound drivers turn left onto Little Eagle Creek Avenue, and then you're going to turn right onto 156th Street, turn right onto the Hamilton Boone County Line Road, and then left to return to State Road 32. Eastbound drivers just do the exact opposite. So keep that in mind if you are a Boone County driver. What we know is that two trucks actually collided, rolled over. They're just cleaning up debris. Let's take a look at the roads right now, though. Here's I-69 near State Road 9, State Road 109. Flashing lights. You can see that some overnight road work underway. Traffic is moving slowly through in both directions. Let's take a turn down to the south side in Greenwood. Here's a look at Main Street off of I-65. Again, everything's moving along just fine down there if you're coming up to the city.
Elena, thank you. RTV6 is getting answers for drivers forced to drive over extremely rough railroad tracks. Myron Freeman says the tracks on Emerson Avenue near downtown Beech Grove are riddled with potholes and have been deteriorating for years. He says many cars end up damaged and sometimes drivers make dangerous swerves. Freeman says he's tried contacting CSX and local leaders to get the problem fixed.
Beech Grove Mayor, City Mayor of Indianapolis, all of them said it was somebody else's jurisdiction. Everybody wants to point to somebody else to get it done, and it's not going anywhere. And I'm not blaming CSX, but just watch the people going across these tracks.
Railroad companies themselves own the actual crossing along a road and a few feet on either side of the tracks. They're responsible for fixing things like potholes or uneven surfaces. RTV6 reached out to CSX on Myron's behalf. The company released a statement saying, quote, "Thank you for bringing concerns about the South Emerson Avenue crossing to CSX's attention. We are looking into the matter to determine what repairs are necessary. We will continue to follow up with CSX until that crossing is fixed."
The former Martinsville police chief is no longer receiving a paycheck from the city. A special board of public works voted May 10th to change Matthew Long's status to unpaid administrative leave. He has received more than $13,000 in pay since his arrest on February 27th. Long is charged with 2 felonies for official misconduct and theft amid allegations he took overtime and sick time he wasn't entitled to. The city attorney says they had to select a special board of works to handle Long's case because the regular board knew about the State Board of Accounts investigation into Long before he was charged.
As investigators continue to look into the cause of a deadly home explosion in Jeffersonville, we're learning more about the victim and from their neighbors and friends. William Short drove back to his home to look at his shattered home on Assembly Road, a place he can no longer live. Ceilings in his home have collapsed, rooms torn apart, cracks are running through his house, and family memories are spread across the yard. When he looks across the street where the explosion happened, he remembers the kindness his neighbors Bill Phillips and wife Janet always shared.
He brought over a Boston cream pie for my son that his wife had made, just something that they would do.
Short says Bill was someone who always told jokes and always helped his community when he could.
The search for a missing Vigo County man has come to an end. Conservation officials say 22-year-old Trevor Hain went missing from Fairbanks Park in Terre Haute on February 13th. Over the weekend, more than 50 searchers scaled the river near Evansville to Terre Haute. Since February, hundreds of hours have been spent searching for Hain. Investigators say at this point, search efforts have been exhausted. Officers say the public should be on the lookout for anything suspicious as water levels fluctuate.
New this This morning, a local energy company wants you to be aware of crooks trying to take your money. Duke Energy says scammers are calling customers pretending to be utility workers. The scammers say they'll cut off your service within the hour if you don't pay up using a prepaid debit card. Duke officials say they will never demand payment with prepaid cards. The company also says they'll provide plenty of notice if there is a legitimate problem with your account. If you have any questions about someone claiming to be from the company, hang up and call the number on your bill.
Dozens of new jobs are coming to Bartholomew County. LHP Engineering Solutions is expanding its operations in Columbus and plans to add 135 new jobs by 2023. It provides services for automotive, aerospace, and medical industries. The company is investing nearly $1 million to grow its headquarters in Columbus. The company is hiring engineers in several different fields. You can find a link to apply to the positions right now on hiringhoosiers.com.
Job candidates or employees who test positive for drugs or alcohol could get a second chance under new state guidelines. The employer guidelines are part of a second chance system that include employee education, training for companies, and helping workers who have substance abuse issues. Mike Thibodeau is director of the Indiana Workforce Recovery and is in long-term recovery himself. He credits a former employer for working with him as he went through detox and treatment 4 years ago.
That support and the ability to retain gainful employment throughout my recovery had an immeasurable impact on the stability of that recovery.
Supporters say those systems can actually save companies money. It usually costs less to help an employee through a substance abuse disorder than to fire and replace them.
The newest Indianapolis Public Library branch is almost ready to open. The Eagle branch near 38th and Moeller Road is scheduled to open on June 1st. Library workers are working to put the final touches on the new branch. That means moving nearly 50,000 books from the old Eagle branch on Lowry Road. The library will include a new community room and more computer spaces. 10 additional library branches are expected to be built or renovated by 2022.
Measles cases are on the rise across the U.S. Straight ahead, we're breaking down the latest numbers just released by the CDC.
Plus, former White House counsel Don McGahn is expected to be a no-show on Capitol Hill this morning. Still ahead, why it's just one battle building tension on the Hill. Todd.
It's dry right now across central Indiana, but you look off to the west and there's quite a bit of rainfall pushing into central Illinois. We'll talk about whether this makes it into Indiana throughout the course of the morning coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 4:39. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
That's why the bananas look so good at Meijer.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. Time now is 4:42. Here's a look at I-465 at I-74 on the west side. Everything's moving along just fine for your drive. No backups or delays. Stay tuned. I'll have your latest traffic update coming up in just a few minutes.
Elena, thank you. A federal judge hands down the first ruling in the oversight battle between the Trump administration and House Democrats.
This comes as Democrats have grown increasingly frustrated by the White House's effort to stall their investigations.
As ABC's Mona Kozar-Abdi reports, that's leading to growing calls amongst the party to pursue impeachment.
President Trump in campaign mode as he touched down in Pennsylvania.
From now until November 3rd, 2020, we are going to keep on working. We are going to keep on fighting.
For Trump, that fight includes stonewalling ongoing efforts by Democrats to probe his administration and his business.
They all knew there was no collusion. I come to the great state of Pennsylvania and I say, oh, I need some help. Let me call, let's see, Russia. Let's call Russia. It's the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on this country.
But it was the president who was dealt the first legal blow by a federal judge in his lawsuit to block a congressional subpoena. The judge signing with the Democratic-led panel seeking a decade's worth of his personal finances. But the small victory isn't enough to curb the growing calls within the Democratic Party to start an impeachment inquiry against Trump.
We have a president that is actively trying to cover up and prevent the American people from getting to the truth, and that's not something I think we can tolerate.
ABC News has learned on Monday House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was confronted by top Democrats on the issue in a tense closed-door meeting. And now one of those calls is coming from the Republican Party. Congressman Justin Amash of Michigan states after reading the Mueller report, he believes Trump engaged in impeachable conduct.
I think it's a process and it's something that should be begun.
The president is also blocking former White House counsel Don McGahn from testifying before Congress today. The White House instructed him to ignore a congressional subpoena. Democrats are calling the move the latest act of obstruction from the president. Mona Kosar-Abdi, ABC News, Washington.
Pink slips will start going out today at Ford. The automaker is making major cuts to its job force around the world. They're expected to slash 7,000 white-collar workers by the end of August. 800 of those will be in North America. 500 salaried workers will get their layoff notices today. It's all part of a restructuring plan aimed at saving Ford about $600 million a year.
Measles cases are still on the rise in the U.S. The Centers for Disease Control says 880 cases have been reported nationwide. 24 states are reporting cases, most of them in New York. Measles is highly contagious but can be prevented with the MMR vaccine. Officials have attributed rising numbers to misinformation about vaccines. The CDC says when taken in the recommended 2 doses, the MMR vaccine is 97% effective at preventing measles. All right, Todd, it is our last cool day of the week. People are going to be wishing for temps like this by the time we get to the weekend.
Yeah, you know, we're running a little bit below normal today. Normally we should be in the mid-70s this time of year. Today we're probably in the mid-60s. So we're running about 10 degrees below normal, but it's comfortable out there. By the end of the week, we will not be using the word comfortable in this forecast at all. 48 degrees. That's the current temperature right now. The winds are out of the east-northeast at 12 miles per hour, and that's a drier wind direction, and that is very key to the forecast today. Not so much the wind speed, but the wind direction, and I'll explain in just a second. Here are your temperatures all across the area. 44 in Richmond, as well as Crawfordsville, 46 in Lafayette, Bloomington at 49 degrees, and as we work our way throughout the day today, hour by hour, temperatures will be in the 50s here through the noon hour, and then as we get into the afternoon hours, we work a little more in the way of sunshine into the forecast, and that's going to result in our temperatures climbing into the mid to upper 60s across the area. So as we work our way throughout the day today, our rain chances are not completely zero. There's been a few sprinkles this morning across northern portions of central Indiana. That little band of rain continues to push up towards Fort Wayne, and then you look off to the west and you see all this heavy rainfall that's moving into central portions of Illinois, and the track takes it right through central Indiana. But here's where those dry northeasterly winds come in. With those northeasterly winds coming in like this, that's going to erode a lot of the shower activity. So I do still think there will be a couple showers that make their way into central Indiana here throughout the morning hours. Nothing substantial, but certainly to the north and west of Indy, that's where you'll have the best chance of seeing a few of these showers. So don't be surprised if you see that, but we're not going to get into the heavy rainfall or the thunderstorm activity. And then here's that line of storms that got so much attention yesterday, and rightfully so, with the potential for severe weather. So as we work our way throughout the course of the morning hours here, again, to the north and west, there will be the chance of a few spotty showers here and there. Otherwise, look for mostly cloudy skies this morning. And then as we work our way into the afternoon hours, that's when we should have a little more in the way of sunshine around, and that's going to result in that temperature jump up into the mid to upper 60s later on this afternoon. Now, tomorrow morning, we are in the 50s and 60s, so it's not as cold come tomorrow morning, and that's because the warm front is working its way through tomorrow. So as we go throughout today, again, it's a shower or two in the forecast, but as we get into tomorrow morning, this is Wednesday morning now, some heavier rain could start to work its way through during the morning hours, and that'll push to the north, and that's what opens the door to all the heat and humidity that will be around for the end of the week. So tomorrow, temperature takes a big jump up into the low 80s with those thunderstorms possibly in the morning. Otherwise, partly sunny skies, but look at your 7-day planning forecast here. As we get into the end of the week, still looking at a high of 86 on Thursday, 88 on Friday, and then in the mid-80s as we go through race weekend. As of right now, though, that front is still lingering across the area for Saturday and Sunday, and unfortunately, Elena, that means we got to keep some scattered thunderstorms in the forecast.
Let's hope it holds off for race day. Thank you, Todd. Here's a look at I-465 up on the north side, Michigan Road. You can see everything's moving along just fine. There's some flashing lights out there. There is some road work underway, but shouldn't cause any problems problems for you if you're heading out the door right now. Let's take a look at the map. We have a rollover crash closing State Road 32, Mule Barn Road, and Little Eagle Creek Avenue. Get around it. I tweeted out that detour that you can use, so check out my Twitter account at Elena Martello. That'll get you. It's kind of wordy, so let's take a turn over to the south side. Here's a look at I-65 at I-465 on our live in-dot traffic camera. You can see all is moving along just fine for your morning drive. The great news right now, those roads are dry, so it should be a breeze as you're making your way to work.
Elena, thank you. Things will be quiet today out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That is because the 33 drivers are out on their national media tour. The next time we will hear cars out on the track will be on Friday. That, of course, is Carb Day. Here's a look at the schedule. Gates will open at 8 Friday morning. The final practice for the field of 33 goes from 11 until 12:30. The Freedom 100 is at 1, followed by the pit stop competition at 2. Cool and the Gang hits the stage at 3:30, followed by Journey at 5.
Before taking off on their media blitz, the field of 33 got a chance to practice yesterday. The Monday practice is often anticipated. The race engines are installed and drivers just have 2 hours to get a feel for things. That includes our driver analyst Tony Kanaan, who practiced in both his and his teammates Mateus Lace's car. Less than a half hour into practice, TK is approaching Oriol Servia, who is way off the throttle. That forces TK to really have to check up to avoid him. So at 230 miles an hour, what do? Give him a little gesture.
I don't know what we was thinking. I mean, I'm coming up. We had the courtesy of you're leaving the pits, somebody's coming up to speed, you don't drag the person into turn 3. And I had to brake and downshift 3 gears. And obviously, he needs to rely on the spotter too. So I don't know, I'll talk.
Sure, but that's a sign of what traffic can be like out here, especially when you got all 33 out there at the same
100%,
time.
it's not pleasant.
Again, things get going back out at the track on Friday for Carb Day.
Students at an Alabama school ending the year without one of their classmates are hoping to end things on a positive note. Straight ahead, how the student's dad made it all possible.
Plus, he's accused of taking money and bailing on jobs. Ahead at 5 and only on RTV6, the embattled contractor opens up about why he did it. It's 4:51. We'll be right back.
Store. This is home.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. Time now is 4:54. Here's a look at I-65 at the North Split. You can see everything's moving along just fine for your drive without backups or delays.
Elena, thank you. Students at an Alabama elementary school are closing out the year without one of their classmates who died in a car wreck. Now, the father of that little girl is trying to help them heal with a surprise he knows his daughter would have loved. 111 second graders from GW Trenholm Elementary shed their shoes and replaced them with jumping socks. The 112th student on the field trip to Sky Zone would have been Jalea Smith.
I'm not going to say it's tough. I'm going to say I just wish that my daughter could have been here with them. But like I said, this is one of her places that she loved to come to.
Jeremy Smith wanted to end the school year on a positive note. In Jalea's honor, he paid for all 111 students to partake in what was his daughter's favorite activity.
Oh, I'm sure it was nice for him to laugh and smile for a bit.
Definitely.
A young northern Indiana boy is raising money to help pay for his grandfather's medical expenses. Owen Holmes' grandpa is waiting for a heart transplant, and Owen is selling popcorn to get some extra cash for him. Owen's mom says her son has always loved Shirley's popcorn. So when the boy learned his grandfather needed a heart transplant, he decided he needed to do something for him. That's when his mom reached out to Shirley's to see if the company could help the boy's fundraiser become a reality.
When I first started, I was just hoping for just $100 and just give my grandpa a little check.
Owen surpassed his first goal and now has a new goal of $500. He says he'll keep selling until he reaches it. Ooh, that popcorn looks delicious.
I like the caramel popcorn, but great idea from him.
Yeah,
give his grandpa a little check.
Yeah.
Little things, right? Go a long ways. All right, outside right now, it's kind of cool. As temperatures are in the 40s all across the area. Make sure you grab the jacket as you walk out the door here this morning. As far as showers, the further north you are and the further west you are, you do have the risk of maybe a quick passing shower here throughout the morning hours, and that should be just about it. But look at highs today. We'll only be in the 60s once again for most of us. Some locations down to the south will be right around 70, 71 degrees, but it's still below normal anywhere you go. Enjoy these cooler temperatures because as we go into into the rest of the week. The 80s return tomorrow, and we're near 90 degrees by the time we get to Friday with the humidity coming up as well. We'll talk more about the heat heading our way and look ahead to your race weekend forecast when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 4:57. Stay with us. We'll be right back.